On the 3rd of July 2019, my next project car is pushed onto my drive. It's a Peugeot 207 GT Turbo CC, the cabriolet. On closer inspection of the car, I actually found that the handbrake was seized on the rear, and which is probably why they were struggling a little bit to push this up the drive while I'm stood just filming. So my first job is to empty a near full tank of stale fuel that's over a year old and make my 2001 Mini drink it. Welcome to this video, which is going to be on this Peugeot 207 CC, which is the cabriolet with the renowned 1.6 petrol engine, and I think the timing slipped on it. That's what I'm guessing that. It was pushed to me from over the road about 8 months ago. The local garage sort of did me a bit of a favour there. Gave it to me on the cheap, which was really quite kind of them. And so hopefully I can repair this. Obviously no idea yet what's actually wrong. But before I even get into any of that, my first job is to get the fuel out, because the fuel is definitely over a year old, and technically in a sealed container fuel only lasts a year. If that was an unsealed container, then you're looking at sort of 6 months shelf life at 20 degrees centigrade, and in a warmer country that might only be 3 months at 30 degrees. So definitely needs to come out, and the fuel in the tank, technically, according to BP, would only last 5 weeks. Because different parts of the fuel will start to evaporate at different rates, and technically the fuel would get 5% heavier in 5 weeks. This is according to BP. So then it would run richer. The fuel to air ratio would be different. It would run richer, the spark plugs could foul, and that's technically what BP would say. So on that basis, I've got to get the fuel out. We definitely want to start with some nice, clean, fresh, volatile fuel. So siphoning obviously isn't an option on these cars. So what I'm going to do is use a different method, and hopefully it'll be quicker. And I should be able to get this fuel out of this tank pretty quickly. So that's my first job. So I'll crack on now. Some overview photographs. So here we can see the main components that greet us when we open the bonnet of the Peugeot 207. And this part highlighted in yellow is the panel we need to remove. So highlighted in red and blue is the fuel line, which is of interest to us. So if I disconnect the top hose, there we can see the fuel hose underneath. And finally, here's a photo of me disconnecting that fuel hose. So I need a few things to hand. So I'm going to take it off charge. So that battery should be ready now. I'll get that hose for draining, something to put the fuel into, and importantly, a fire extinguisher and some face protection. So first job is to remove the plastic cover. So this is fairly simple. We just need a flat bladed screwdriver, turn those clockwise, pull at the front, and then slide it out. This now gives us good access to those fuel pipes, which we need to disconnect now. But first we do need to depressurize the fuel. So I'm just going to pop a bit of tissue down there to soak up any of the fuel. We then need to remove that little dust cap, visor on as noted there. You definitely don't want petrol to spray in your face. So remove the dust cap like so. Try not to lose it. And then using some sort of little pin, we need to just poke the little valve. Missed it. There we go. So that's now depressurised the fuel. So we can pop the little cap back on, and Now disconnect the hose. So finally, disconnecting the fuel pipe. So I'm just going to remove the top hose, and for that you need to push down on the top of the clip as so, and that pops off. That might be a breather pipe, perhaps to the fuel tank, or possibly a return hose. So now to the fuel pipe, there's two white squares that you need to push in on either side and then pull back, and that is the hose now disconnected. There will be a small amount of petrol that leaks out of that, so we just need to get the drain hose. So now to connect the drain hose. So I've included a photo and a close-up of the actual adapter, and I've also put a little arrow showing which adapter it was in the set. I'll leave a link in the description where you can actually purchase this set if you require it. I'd best say at this point that petrol is extremely dangerous. The vapours are explosive, and petrol splashed into your eyes could result in a nasty eye injury and a trip to A&E. You should have a fire extinguisher readily to hand, such as powder, foam or possibly CO2, to tackle Class B fires. So having chosen the correct adapter, and I've fixed it onto an Eheim pipe. That's actually a pipe for a fish tank. Nice bit of piping that is. And then we can just pop the connector in like so, and I'll put a bit of tissue under there. I'm also going to cover this pipe up, the connection, with a bit of tissue, just in case it was to squirt at all. I definitely don't want it to go in my face while I'm doing this. So my first task is to establish how much fuel will be pumped when the key is turned to the ignition stage. So I'll go into split screen mode here so you can see when the key is actually turned. There we go, so that's prime 1. So that's filling up the demijohn at the front of the car. Prime 2. So as you can see, quite a bit of fuel actually comes out just when you turn the key to the pre-start position. Number 3. And we're past a litre. Quite a bit past the litre there. I had a quick check there to make sure it wasn't going to overflow because I couldn't see the container. So prime number 4 is taking us quite a bit of air there. Actually, the fuel's getting quite low now. And prime number 5 is taking us past the 2 litres. So what I can do then is very carefully pour the it looks like it's about 2.5 litres there, but for accuracy I'll still pour it into a measuring jug, making sure you've got a face mask on in case you get splashed. And it is 2.5 litres, so that means it's pumping out half a litre each time you turn the key to the prime position. So now we know that about half a litre is pumped on each turn of the key. I wonder how quickly we could pump 5 litres out, as that could tell us how long it would take us to empty a full tank of 50 litres. So I'd expect about 10 turns of the key to fill this demijohn, and I will speed this up because seeing the key turned 10 times might be somewhat monotonous. So what are we up to now there? Nearly 2 litres. Heading for 3 litres. I'll also include a bit of a sound as the tank runs completely dry, because you'll hear the pump, the pitch of it change, and it sort of goes high pitched. So the pump sound should be coming any second now. So the timer was at about 11 seconds when the pump was primed and read 2 minutes and 6 seconds, so it only took 115 seconds, or call it 2 minutes, to empty 5 litres of petrol. The tank holds 50 litres, so you could empty a full tank if you had to in 20 minutes, though it would require 100 turns of the ignition key. So now the careful job of decanting the demijohn into a suitable container and putting that somewhere cool and safe. So now to put everything back as it was. So thankfully no petrol sprayed out of there and went on the tissue. So we can, I probably should have left that piece of tissue in there because I'm just about to disconnect it, and ironically petrol did actually come out. So you push the 2 clips in on each side and then withdraw the connector, and then it's simply a case of push it back on firmly and it clicks into place. And then this second tube, which I presume is a vent tube, probably to the fuel tank, but I'm not sure on that. So those are back in. We can now put the cover on. Make sure you move the clips to the vertical position, because we need to turn those anti-clockwise. Make sure that's seated down, clipped in at the front, and then with our flat bladed screwdriver we could just turn those anti-clockwise. That's looking good, and then I'll probably have to put this battery back on charge because it's going to be somewhat drained, and I still need to have a look at mending the car. So the hardest thing I found with this video was actually the passing motorbikes and having to try and freeze myself so I could edit the video afterwards. Me on the cheap, which was really quite kind of them, and so hopefully I can repair this. You've been watching Draining Stale Fuel from your Peugeot 207, and thank you for watching, and hope this video helps you drain your fuel if the need comes. This video was filmed and edited by me, Mark Savage, in March 2021, and I can also be found on Instagram and Facebook as Coats and Gaiters.